Hey there. In this episode, it's kind of funny because when I was writing the topics for each one of the episodes for this first season, which is all about my journey into solopreneurship, I wanted to reflect on self-examination, meaning my professional slash personal growth journey and how that started in my early years when I was a teenager. I talk about what I was exposed to, what I was really into, like in my 20s. It's so wacky. It's just so funny how you go through these phases of different interests, and I'm so different now, but yet still the same as I was when I was a young person. And but in this episode, I talk about the value of self-examination because being a solopreneur is like the best personal growth program, period. End of story. I truly believe that it is by far the best personal growth journey you could ever be on. And self-examination needs to be a very big part of your business to understand how you show up in business, how you act with clients and partners and vendors, how you manage your finances around your business. All of these things are dictated by your personality, by your psychology, and all of the elements that comprise your personality's tendencies, what you are triggered by, what you react to. So I talk a lot about my odd self-examination journey and what I do to continue that journey because it's a learning experience. It's almost like you're getting to know who you are. And being in the environment of your own business really showcases that. So I give an interesting prompt on how you can look at where there have been opportunities where you've really been able to reflect on your mindset and areas or times in your life when you've had growth opportunities and what you did with them and how you handled them. And I think that's a really important part of being a solopreneur. So I hope you enjoy. Welcome to My Solopreneur Life. I'm Terry Pappy, your gracious host, and I am so glad you're here. I have a wonderful episode for you. Sit back, relax, and let's have some real talk about what it is to be a solopreneur. In this episode, I want to talk about my lifelong journey of self-examination. And I think this is really important when it comes to being a solopreneur. Because what you're going to find as you as you run your own business, it's like its own self-help program that you're in. You know, Tony Robbins, eat your heart out. Let me tell you what, running a business is something that will test every skill you have, every thread of patience. You will discover where your weaknesses are in a very bold way, almost to the point where you're like, holy crap, I really have a gap there. And then you'll see where you shine the best. And if you allow yourself to go through a journey of self-examination, what you're going to realize is that discovering your skills, your strengths, as well as where you may have some shortfalls, is going to really contribute to you understanding more about yourself, more about how you want to grow as a professional, as an individual, as a human being. And the things that you'll discover through the lens of solopreneurship are things that you're going to discover that can help you in other areas of your life. They can help you in your personal finances, your relationships, your physical well-being, how you handle money, how you handle family relationships. Lord knows we have all kinds of drama and dysfunction in our family relationships. And through these experiences of having your own business, you could really understand, if you're able to take a look at yourself and look at it with kindness and with love, you can really make progress in developing the skills and the strengths and the things that make you a wonderful person, because I know you're a wonderful person. And then you can take those shortfalls and lovingly embrace them and make sure that, because they're a part of you too. So the things like, for example, I'm not the best money person. I don't understand a lot of things around numbers, and I get by. I don't want to make it sound like I can't balance my checkbook or do my bookkeeping in my business. Believe me, I'm fine there. But for example, like my boyfriend, I mean, he can do like long division in his head. He can do P&L. He's an MBA. He's very logical. He's very left-brained, and he can do all that stuff on the fly. Meanwhile, for me, it's not something that comes naturally to me. So knowing that, I compensate, if you will. I try to keep, for example, in my business, my financials, I try to keep them as simple as possible. I also use tools that can help me with invoicing and all the accounting things that need to be done. And it's also why I've kept my business very simple. And one of the things that I do with my clients is to show them how they can obviously simplify their business as well. So when you take this journey, or at least respect the journey, the lifelong journey that you've had as a human being, and whether you're working on relationships, whether you're working on your professional skills, your sales skills, for example, these are all opportunities that become enhanced when you have your own business. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about in this episode, where even though we know this season is all about kind of my journey and what has contributed to my success being a solopreneur, running my own business for almost 20 years now, and what I've really gotten out of it on all levels. And my journey of self-examination, and I use those terms specifically because it's really about understanding my psychology, learning things around conditioning, behavioral science, personal development, self-help, you name it, run the gamut. Started with me at a very young age. And I think when I was in my late teens, when I was in high school, I went to counseling, had a little bit of a dysfunctional family setting. Don't need to go into details there. I'm sure you have, either you have your own dysfunctional family setting or you know people who do. So you get it. And honestly, looking back, I'm grateful for the experience, albeit at the time I was not so grateful, but I'm really grateful for the fact that I had that opportunity to turn the mirror on myself and say, all right, where do I fit in here? And one of the things that occurred in my teen years was I was starving for attention. And being the youngest in my family, my three siblings had already left the house. They were off either in college or beyond college. There was 9 years between me and my next sibling. And there was a divorce going on and kind of that types of disruption. Well, once I got out on my own, I started investigating self-help books about low self-esteem, motherless daughters, because my mom passed away when I was 6 after a very long illness. She was in a wheelchair for a long time. And so there was definitely conditions in my environment growing up that made it really difficult for myself, my family, and everything that I went to. But these are all things that created who I am today. It helped me establish a level of empathy that I think is one of my greatest assets. It also helped me understand more about self-love and really just getting clear and learning about the psychology of childhood and coming up and having that conditioning, and then how to understand it and then find ways to move past it. And so when I was in Pittsburgh going to art school, I met a couple of people that turned me on to some really, really cool resources. And I started to get involved in new age stuff. So I was like looking at meditating, I was journaling, I was going to hypnosis classes where I learned self-hypnosis so I could work on these things. I also found a really great Gestalt therapist that I worked with that helped me process incredible amounts of past trauma, loss, grief, all of those things. And I'm in my 20s, okay, early 20s. And then I ended up doing the Landmark Forum. And for those who've been around as long as I have, this is like the original EST program. And they still have the Landmark Forum today and still deliver it all over the world. And it is one of the, if not the premier self-improvement programs. I highly recommend you exploring it. And it really boosted in an accelerated way. My recovery from the trauma and the stories that I had, it gave me some really, really powerful tools about responsibility, about owning roles. And probably the best program I did that was part of Landmark Education was the Mastery of Empowerment course. And this was an on-site course I did. I think I was in my late 20s. It was before I moved to Florida. And they had a campus, Rhinebeck, New York or whatever, and went up there and did the Mastery of Empowerment. And I mean, it was so profound. I really got the distinction of service. And the distinction of service for me, in the most simplest terms, is where you, being the one who's providing the service, disappear. So what I mean by that is the customer who's receiving the experience has such a seamless occurrence of what's going on. They're getting their needs met. It's above expectations. It's nothing but positive, positive, positive. But the person or people who are delivering that service kind of fade into the background. In other words, they're so saturated in the experience that they don't realize it's being delivered by people or a team or an environment. And that was a huge thing for me. And that's probably one of the most powerful sentiments that I carry through in my business, because I'm very much into customer experience. Everything that I build in the work that I do today is oriented around my clients' customers. Regardless of who they are, if they're doing business with a specific customer, it's not about sales and marketing. It's not about this, that, or, what's your website look like or whatever. That's kind of like what I call the lipstick on the pig. What's most important is what experience are you creating for your customer? Because that's what will make them stay. That's what will make them give you more wallet share. And that's what will distinguish you from any competitors, to the point where you don't have competition, because you're so focused on providing an amazing experience that you'll pay extra. You'll stay with them because it's too uncomfortable to try anything else. And I think this is a real problem in today's marketplace, because everything is so fast and furious and technology soaked that we forget that there's human beings at the end of the delivery line, and that we need to consider, what is that experience for them? Sure, we can use technology to deliver it faster, more seamless, more conveniently to them. But if they have a question or a problem and they reach out and there's not a human being there that can help them, that's a problem. So realizing the distinction of service and being able to infuse that in everything that I do and everything that I work on with my clients has been probably one of my strongest assets in the work that I do. So back to Pittsburgh. When I was in Pittsburgh and kind of getting exposure to all these things, and I started listening to New Age music, and I was, I was very liberal and idealistic at the time. And I was like into whales and dolphins and started painting them, and was so impressed by the Wyland whaling walls. And I just really dove into self-examination, taking courses, reading books, trying to make sense of the self-esteem issues, how I viewed myself, how I could really clearly understand my relationships in my family and get complete with those relationships, which I did through the work I did with Landmark Education. And if you participated in anything that Landmark does, you totally get what I'm talking about. And so as I progressed, as I grew, as I had experiences through jobs and relationships and everything that we go through in life, and then I moved to Florida, I think that I had, you know how the pendulum swings one way and then all of a sudden it'll start swinging the other way? Well, I was saturated in personal development, the new age stuff, the spirituality. Not that I changed my belief structure, but I had like literally dove into the deep end of that stuff. And I remember going to Anna Maria Island one summer, and this was after I moved to Florida for vacation, and I was on Anna Maria Island, which is on the southwest coast of Florida. Beautiful place, one of my favorite places. And I was in the library one day, and I came across this book, and it was called Ask and It Is Given by Esther Hicks. And this was channeled work and whatnot. But when I came to Florida, I just kind of needed a break from all that stuff. I always journal. Journaling is something that's been ongoing, which is a wonderful way to show your appreciation and acknowledge the path that you're on and just kind of process things. At least that's how it is for me. Everyone uses journaling in a different way, whether it's morning pages like Julia Cameron touts in her Artist's Way book, or if it's more like a diary, or if it's just kind of like just to get some strong emotions out on paper so you can process it. Everybody, and that's the great thing about journaling and writing, and why I have prompts in every one of these episodes. If the episode topic speaks to you, if the prompt speaks to you, then please, by all means, do it in the way that you want to do it, whether you're writing, whether you're thinking about it, or talk to somebody about it, whatever works for you to actually exercise the energy around the idea of whatever that topic is or the prompt is about. So when something resonates with you and you're like, wow, I really need to take a look at that. Or, oh my God, I can't believe Terry just said that on that recording. That's crazy because I'm like dealing with that in my life right now. Those are the wonderful things that I love about the universe bringing resources and people together for those creative, coincidental things that happen. I do believe that we attract things, that there is a law of attraction, that it's scientifically proven, and it starts with our thoughts and our emotions. And so all of these things I've learned, I use in my everyday life. To this day, I still am out there reaching for things, ways I can learn more, whether it's a practical thing that I'm learning or whether it's something that's more esoteric or spiritual or something about my personal happiness or joy, and whether that's getting a good coach to work with or a therapist, reading books, listening to podcasts, being part of a small community of peers, which is always really, really powerful for solopreneurs, is to have some sort of community of peer solos, whether you're running your own mastermind or you join someone else's or create a community. Make sure that it's enriching your personal development. Some people do it just for networking purposes because they want more business. That's really not the kind of community I'm talking about. I'm talking about something where there's shared learning, shared healing, and really just a support structure. So you have someone to go to say, hey, listen, I ran across this client who pulled this number on me and I'm not really sure how to handle it. Well, that other person in the community or someone in that community, that group could actually say, well, that happened to me last year and this is how I handled it. So getting back to my continued journey, these are all things that really, really helped what I'm building in my business. And I think that this is the great thing about being in your 60s, because you can actually look back on these things and have such a humble perspective of the journey you've been on that's gotten you to where you're at today. And when I look at self-examination, personal growth, professional growth, as I said at the beginning, having your own business will really bring it out. And it's a great opportunity for you to shore up some of those areas, to showcase some of those areas, and really make that part of your business. It's really, really important to do that. It's just something that I think is inherent in my personality. For me to have started journaling, started reading books about adult children of alcoholics, is this why I'm struggling? Or is this why I'm having a hard time? And is this why things are going this way? So for me, it was half learning, trying to get some sort of insight into my psychometry, but to really understand why I was having the results I was having. But I think where I'm at today with understanding attractive factors, how the universe works, the spiritual, energetic way of things, as well as what we're creating, what we're thinking, and mindset and thought is so important for solopreneurship, for anything, honestly. But your mindset has to be so sharp and so on purpose when you're running your own business. It really matters to understand why you do certain things, why certain things don't seem to fit. Trusting your gut is a big one, where you can say, I had a conversation with this particular person and they, I really didn't like how they handled this and it just rubbed me the wrong way. And sometimes you just can't put a finger on it, But if there's no syncing, if there's no clicking, step back and look at what happened in that conversation. Why did it rub you the wrong way? Were you showing up in your not best self? Was the client prospect acting in a way that maybe triggered a memory or triggered a past experience that wasn't a positive one? So there's a lot of ways you can just stop for a moment versus rushing into making decisions and take a look at what that experience was all about and why you felt that way. I can't tell you how important, and this is one of the most important things I learned in my personal growth journey. I can't tell you how important it is to be in touch with your emotions. Your emotions are a great way to do two things. One, obviously tell where you're sitting. Like if you're having an emotion, whether it's a positive or a negative one, there's something that's triggering that. The other thing is it's typically tied to a thought. So if you're thinking a certain way, it could trigger some emotions. For example, let's say you go ahead and you are feeling a little pinch in the financial area and you're concerned about getting more clients, or you need more income and need more business in your pipeline. And so you start going down what I call going down that tunnel with no cheese, where you start worrying. You start thinking, oh God, what if I don't make this month's rent? Or, if you've got contractors and you want to pay them, I can't pay them this month because I don't have the business. And this client just quit me. And so all of a sudden, your thought process is instantly in the future trying to prepare you for the worst thing. Like, what's the worst case scenario? And that fear, that anxiety that comes along with that is an emotion that's telling you, okay, you're not thinking right. And I can't tell you how many times that I've had an emotional response to something. And for me, it's like a knee-jerk thing, right? I have to kind of force myself to stop for a second and say, okay, why am I feeling this way? And my tool has been journaling in most cases. Sometimes I'll just go and have a conversation with my boyfriend because he's so objective. He knows me as far as how I'm wired, what I normally worry about. And I'm very sensitive. And so I'm going to show up in ways where he's like, I don't understand. But he's very empathetic from the standpoint of helping me see the logic or illogical standing behind why I'm reacting. But at the end of the day, checking in with that thought process, what am I thinking? What am I worried about? Why am I thinking that way? That's not even the reality of this moment. And so I've learned to shift those thoughts. So when you correct your thoughts, you're going to be back on track. Understanding that your belief systems and your thoughts are all tied together. So if you have a belief system about yourself, a belief system about what it's like to be in business, what it's like to be a woman, a man, in a certain geography, in a certain age bracket, whatever that classification or category is, that belief system is really just a series of thoughts that you've decided to make real. And that's what creates a belief. Those are some of the things that you can look at when you're looking at mindset, when you're looking at how you have a roller coaster of emotions while you're being a solopreneur. Because so many of these things really do come up, as I was saying at the beginning. They do come up when you're running your own business. And because it's you're putting yourself out there, heart and soul. Your mind, your talents, your skills are being brought to bear. And the exposure to judgment and criticism and all those things are wide open. That's just kind of like how I got going on solopreneurship and my self-examination journey, and how that's really helped me be a better business person and just a better human being and enjoy life more, honestly, right? So it's all about life enjoyment. And if you don't love yourself, if you don't have empathy and self-love, that it's going to be a hard journey. And starting there is usually a great place. And if you need to get help to do it, do it. I certainly did. It's an ongoing journey. I'm not going to say I'm perfect. I love every new encounter that I experience. Allows me to learn more about myself, learn more about what I want for my business and how I want to live the rest of my life, or at least the near future. Who knows what's around the corner, right? For this particular prompt, I'd like for you to think about what your self-examination journey has been. And what are some of the lessons that you've learned about yourself that have made you a better business person, a better person in a relationship, a better human being all around? And how has it helped your attitude about life, about the environment you live in, the economy you live in, the political world you live in? How has it helped you not just survive, but thrive in the environments that you find yourself? Because if you think about the attractor factor, the things that you're thinking, you're attracting in your experience. So if you're having a bad experience, there's something going on in your thought pattern that's bringing that forward so you can learn a lesson, you can get that insight, you can have that experience. Some people look at the human experience as one big classroom. And to some degree, that might be true. But I do believe that we're here to experience joy. And the faster we can find pathways to that, solopreneurship can be one of them, the more we're going to enjoy life and be able to love others and contribute to others in ways that only we can, because everyone's unique. Take a moment to take a look at those growth opportunities that you've had throughout the years and what you've done to create self-love and to give yourself grace in learning that you are unique and you are an incredible person who has so much potential. And despite the hardships, the bumps, the challenges that you may have had in life, as we all have had, have done you good, have created you the way you are today, and will continue to help mold and shape and showcase what an amazing person you are. Take a look at that prompt and see how that works for you. Until then, I'll see you in the next show. Well, I know you're disappointed, but that's it for this episode. Listen, the great news is there's another one coming, so stay tuned. Anyway, I just want to make sure that you do the prompt if this episode had a prompt and you get that homework done because you're going to be a better solopreneur. How's that for a maternal finger shaking at you? Hey, listen, thanks so much for being here, for giving me time of your day, and, for taking it on. So if you want to learn more and stay connected with me, just head on over to mysolopreneurlife.com. Thanks a bunch. See you soon. That was pretty good. I think I'll keep that one.